Whoa, it's been quite some time since I've done this. The last video I posted was a video of me sort of giving my state of wrestling address that was well received. I'm sorry I haven't been around, but your boy's been busy. I hope that this podcast that you're either watching or listening is up to the proper standards of the Peter Talks series over the past 3 years. So without further ado, hello boys, hello girls. You are now listening. If you're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and maybe a whole bunch of other podcast hubs that I don't know about, or watching on YouTube, Peter Talks SummerSlam. This is the third annual podcast vlog that I do of SummerSlam. When I started doing the podcast with myself and Jake, with Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling, it all began 3 years ago with me finally getting off my ass, sitting in front of a computer and giving my predictions on SummerSlam. I guess that was 2014. Me and myself and Jake did a podcast called Peter and Jake Talks Wrestling. All that stuff is still in the vaults of SoundCloud. I still pay a premium to keep that there. And on YouTube, we have a bunch of videos. I got a bunch of reaction videos. I got even a bunch of Raw post-show reviews, a bunch of pay-per-view reviews, and it's just been a fantastic ride in that period that I was doing podcasts. But what ended up happening, and just to catch you guys up, I took on a full-time job screen printing. I also started putting out my own line of things that have been doing really well, focused on local, being proud of your local environment, to be a hometown, and everything's been crazy. So I had to let go of the podcast to cater to that. But I still watch wrestling. I'll get into that later. But first, yes, this is the third annual. It started with the SummerSlam, and I feel like if I at least do one or two, if I do at least two podcasts a year, if you guys are still watching and still care, I'm gonna do SummerSlam. That's just the end all be all of who I am as a video wrestling podcaster and blogger. I just feel like that's sort of, I guess this is because it's where it began. I feel like it just should be that way. And I mean, it's a little late. Everyone has their predictions and reviews out and what have you, but I had to basically cut out time to do this. So here we are. Let me give you a quick update on what's going on with my wrestling consumption. As of late, I do not watch the product live at all. I will watch some pay-per-views live for the most part, but not all of them. I don't watch Monday Night Raw live any longer. I don't watch SmackDown live any longer. And it's funny because I have the time to do it, but I don't want to. I think the product itself has become so boring. I'll still be a wrestling fan, but I think with those 3 hours or 2 hours, I would much rather be out and doing something else, whether it's working on shirts, working on the design, hanging out with friends, catching up with friends, hitting the bar. I would much rather do those things rather than sit 3 hours and have WWE programming in the background as I'm on my phone. Like, what a waste of time. And I realize that my time is just a little more valuable than that. And I'd imagine there's a lot more people like that. And it just goes to show what what's going on with the product. I mean, I was a diehard appointment watcher because I don't watch anything. You know, I don't watch television. I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't watch Walking Dead. I've never seen an episode of Breaking Bad. I don't watch network or Netflix programming. I watch wrestling. I watch ROH. Been watching some New Japan, and I'm not gonna front like you know, the G1. I didn't watch that. I mean, that's too much wrestling, and at the same time, I'm not necessarily this like guy who's all of a sudden like this huge New Japan fan. I mean, I like it. I keep up with it, but I'm not like, I ain't no poser. And the G1 I did not watch, but I kept up with the news, and you know, congratulations to Naito. I watch NXT. I don't watch Lucha Underground any longer. I just keep up with podcasts and stuff. But like, there's a lot of wrestling, man. There's a lot of fucking wrestling. But it's tough to make an appointment wrestling. Oh yeah, and ROH, I watch a lot of that on Saturdays. But yeah, the product is stale. It's very stale. And I wish it was something that WWE could do to, you know, do something better with what they have. Probably the best lineup of wrestlers, women and men, that the product has ever seen. You know, you've ever seen, from AJ Styles to Nakamura, you know, Kevin Owens. You know, just look at what's going on. Oops, sorry. Just look what's going on with this product, and they have all these amazing wrestlers. You know, your Baileys and your Charlotte Flair, and it's like they don't know their ass from their elbow. It's I don't know. I guess at some point they're gonna improve, they're gonna get better, but until they can fucking come up with storylines and do something with the wrestlers, that's when it'll be appointment watching for me. And so this podcast, enough with lip service. I can complain and go on and on and on about some things, but I'm not. I want to get to what I'm really here for, is to make my predictions and give you a preview of SummerSlam. But also, because I've been keeping up with the NXT product, I may as well do a quick review and predictions of NXT Takeover Brooklyn. So let's go ahead and get into that. And in no particular order, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, you know, in no particular order. I'm going to try to make the headline last, if I can catch it, because I'm reading it from the Wikipedia page, and they got it kind of out of order, especially the SummerSlam. It's just all out of whack. So in no particular order, I'm not going to go into, who's on the pre-show or who's winning, just from the fucking wiki. So we got Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Almas, whatever, Sienna Almas. I guess they got rid of Sienna. So yeah, I'm going to go through the feud, the players, and then my predictions. Johnny Gargano versus Almas. And Johnny Gargano was part of this crew called DIY. Him and Tommaso Ciampa. They were a tag team, and they were the NXT Tag Team Champions for a little bit. Lost them to the Authors of Pain. They got a couple of chances to get him back. They never got him back. And Ciampa got hurt, apparently, and he got hurt before their last match with Authors of Pain. And then people were talking about how he would be replaced. So after they lost, it was like this somber moment, and Ciampa turned on Gargano because he did suffer an injury. and he's been written off for a while. But we have a storyline of Gargano to find, to come to grips with what happened with the breakup, and he's on the path to, I guess, getting his singles push going, and waiting for Tommaso Ciampa to come back from his injury to get his revenge. Almas, who is probably one of the most talented wrestlers on that fucking roster. I remember seeing him at NXT in Concord. I didn't know who he was, but I remember just walking away being the most impressed by that guy. Well, anyway, storyline, he's come out as a baby face. He had a stupid getup. The fucking hat he wore and suspenders. He looked like a fucking Chippendales model. The fan turned on him, and then he got this attitude where he just didn't give a fuck anymore. Even though he had these really amazing matches with certain guys, he ended up just losing altogether. And then with every loss, he just didn't care more and more. He would just rub off a fucking loss like it wasn't nothing. And then this chick shows up, this Valina Vega. She showed up. Now, apparently, she is the wife or the girlfriend of Austin Aries. And I think they plan for her to sort of show up and then, coupled with WWE contracts. But since then, Austin Aries has left the WWE. I mean, you never say he's not going to come back. I guess he's just pretty unhappy with what was going on. And, you're always in the system of the WWE. So maybe at some point you'll come back. Look at Drew McIntyre, look at Jinder Mahal. I'm just saying, they both got fired and look where they are now. But she's been basically getting in his ass about taking his shit seriously. And what he's done is just said, fuck it, I'll just follow your lead if this is going to help. So little things like when he would sort of do things to slow down the process of him getting a victory, he's cut that out. Like the last week, he had a big win. I can't remember against who, but there was a point where I think it was No Way Jose, and he has this thing where he gets in the ropes and he's relaxes in between the ropes. He got his ass handed to him for that, and the girl got on him it's like, what are you doing? So he's cut some of this stuff out. He's cut the fat. He's becoming more aggressive, and he's getting wins. So the storyline is he's coming back to wrestling prominence. He's the potential that he has. He's going for it, and he's getting it with the help of this girl. So you have this match between Gargano and Almas. Now, I predict that Almas wins this match. He has the valet. He has the momentum. He has a storyline to be told. Gargano, because I think they're going to push him. Almas, I think he's going to be in the championship picture very, very, very soon. Gargano, not so much. I think they still have a storyline with him to where he has to get his bearings back in the ring as a solo performer. He's going to have great matches, but he's going to lose in the very end. There's not going to be a run-in in this. There's not going to be Zelina is not going to interfere. It's going to be a clean victory. Almas wins, and he rises the ranks. And also, you have to take in consideration that Gargano is coming off of injury. So maybe just possibly he's not 100%. Maybe the commentary goes into that as the storyline. He's not 100%. So Gargano doesn't necessarily need to win. Almas does. He's been with the company so long. He's super talented. Again, he's getting the push. He's getting the victory. Aleister Black, he's been kicking ass and taking names since he's come to NXT. The competition has gotten more stiff, and he's facing, basically, as of late, he faced Bobby Fish, he's faced Kyle O'Reilly, and those have been his biggest matches to date. He's faced Chris Hero, I guess, Cassius Ohno, and those were tough. He's but he's still the fucking man, right? He's still getting the wins. He's still getting push. He's still the motherfucking man, and the place loves him. Hideo Itami, he's frustrated. He's pissed off. He's being hurt, injured. He has a closing window of what he could do as a professional wrestler, but he's been stuck down at NXT because, as of late, he's been considered accident prone or like injury prone, and that's not cool. Maybe the frustration of this has had him turn. He's turned. He's an evil bastard right now. It all came out in a match against Orny Lorcan. He just lost his shit. He just wouldn't stop hitting him with the fucking go to sleep. And since then, he's had a feud with Cassius Ohno. And it's just been downhill for this guy. I don't know what's to come of this guy's career moving forward. I don't think there's a place for him at all on the main roster. I don't think there is at all. Maybe SmackDown, maybe. But why would you bring him up as a heel? That's the only problem. And if he was a heel on the main roster, he would just be another foreign menace, i.e. Rusev, i.e. Jinder Mahal. You know, like, we don't need another foreign menace on the main roster. And at the same time, we need someone who's going to be able to wrestle and not worry about injuries every fucking month or so. You know? So, Aleister Black wins this match. I think Hideo does get called up. I have low expectations for the call-up of Hideo Itami. Super low. All his momentum has just been wasted. I feel bad for the guy. We'll see what happens. But Aleister Black, he has to push. Maybe they're going to get him ready to face Bobby Roode for the championship. Not jumping the gun, but, whatever. They're going to have him basically take that belt. Out of all the people, I think they're going to have Aleister Black take that championship. His character doesn't really necessarily need a belt. To me, he's very much like a Jake the Snake Roberts kind of guy, where he's just badass. A belt on him would look weird. A belt. Vince McMahon would fucking fuck me up for saying that, but a championship would look weird on him. It would look weird on any of those dark characters like that. All of them. Yeah, just whatever. So, again, my prediction that Aleister Black beats Hideo Itami. Hideo Itami does, but I think he loses and he fucks him up. Maybe he gets a revenge, but I see him just going to the main roster at that time. Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering versus Sanity, Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane, with Eric Young and Nikki Cross as the valets. This is for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Authors of Pain, as of late, has turned recently babyface to Sanity, who to me, I don't know what it is about that fucking faction. When that music comes on, it's such a buzzkill. For me, not because necessarily the talent, but it's just, I don't like that music. I hate that music. And I hate how long it is. And their entrance, Triple H, I don't know what the fuck he's doing with all of these guys. And maybe it's cool, but like not everyone can get like a fucking 3, 4, 5 minute entrance. Everyone can't get a fucking entrance, man. And looking at just even up to now, Aleister Black's fucking entrance takes forever. He has to rise up like a goddamn vampire. You got Hideo Itami. He just walks out. He's probably one of the only ones that doesn't have like this painstaking fucking intro so far. Gargano, Almas, and they all do that same, hey, I'm going to go to you and say, hey, and I'm going to go to the other side and say, hey. And like, just walk in and fucking get patted down and fight. Like, well, anyway, I just hate how long that fucking intro is. I for some reason like Alexander Wolf. Like, I like him a lot. I think his character is unpredictable. I think he's a big dude. He has an interesting look. He can sell really well. I think he could be a really good villain. I think with the proper push, he could be someone who could be a mid-card guy, a menace in the mid-card. But I think he would get liked really well because of that. And people will push him the crowd would get behind him as a babyface if he ever went up against like a top contender kind of feud against someone like the likes of The Miz, the likes of, I would say even Brock Lesnar even. He would get cheered because he would just get squashed and people would be pissed off and just like, come on, Alexander. So if there was one guy out of the group, which out of this whole, Killian Dane, I think he can be a monster as well. But Alexander Wolf, I think, has more character. He has more personality. Versus the Authors of Pain. But yeah, Sanity's been kicking ass and taking names too. They haven't really been winning stuff, but they've definitely been a thorn in people's thighs. Thorn in the side. A thorn in the thigh. Jesus Christ, man. And Eric Young has been out maybe with injury, I don't know, but he's just now come back, and you know he's the leader of the pack. But now they're a crew again with him back. If I was to make a prediction of who wins, I think the Authors of Pain still retains. Sanity is nothing more than a bunch. They will fuck you up, but they're a bunch of losers. They're a pest, only to be beaten, like the Wyatt family, basically. As damaged as the tag team division is on SmackDown and on Raw, AOP can't leave NXT yet. They can't. NXT can't afford to have those guys leave. We're just now starting to get behind this fleet of people, just like the ones before them. Like, NXT has gone to the drizzling shits because as soon as you invest in somebody and see their path, they've gone up to the main roster, and it's basically a reboot. So all of that invested time that you put into this person, now you have to replace it with like another person, and like that's not how we work as humans. We invest in things for the long term, or for an extended amount of time until either A, we get tired of it, or B, just move on to the next new thing. That's how we behave as humans. We just can't. We don't do well with things being taken away from us, and that's what it is with NXT. And with every person they develop, they always get taken, and we're just now getting into AOP. You can't take them yet. I would wait until next SummerSlam. Let them be on the fucking tag team division. Let them run it for a while. They're still a little green. I think they would serve more purpose on NXT. Let Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, Red Dragon, at some point beat them and then send them on their way. So yes, I have the Authors of Pain winning, and that's about that. We got Asuka versus Ember Moon. Ember Moon got injured not too long ago via Asuka. She took her ass and threw her out of the ring into the fucking barricade. It was pretty brutal, man. I think I injured myself just watching that fucking thing happen. And she's been back for a while, kicking ass, taking names. But Asuka is Asuka. I don't need to go into any more backstory than that. No one's ready for Asuka. No one is still ready for Asuka. I don't think Ember Moon, as much as I dig her, she is not someone I feel that should be taking out Asuka. I think someone who should be taking out Asuka is someone on the main roster. Like, she's a main roster ready opponent for anybody, whether it's Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bayley, you name it. Her biggest obstacle, as long as she's been champion, is Mickie James. And Mickie James has gone to shit, which sucks. But it has to be, like, I would say, I wish she would just basically, like, beat Ember Moon, and she will win. I have Asuka winning. She needs to stay down there a little bit longer. They cannot afford to have that girl go yet. It sucks, but they can't afford it. She's a money, like, if NXT's still going on the road doing some things, she is a money draw. She is. Between her and between Aleister Black, right now, I think those are the two biggest draws to that NXT brand. And, you know, it sucks to have her down there. It does. But if she went up to the main roster and got part of that women's revolution and have Vince McMahon, guiding her and telling her what she needs to fucking do, it's just not going to be cool. Everyone's going to be pissed off. Everyone's going to be, what are you doing? You ruining Asuka, man. What the fuck? True, but she's going to be on the main roster. She wants to be on the main roster. I root for her, but, like, it's one of those fail-proof. But, like, look at Sasha Banks. Look at Bayley. Those are basically fail-proof gimmicks. And they've kind of failed them. Failed the fans that's followed them down to NXT. And Asuka can easily get the same fate if they're not careful. But yes, she's a money draw. She has to stay. Ember Moon still has to go to the back of the line. And I think she has to put up more memorable matches. She has to face better talent. And that's what's great about the Mae Young Classic, that there's going to be an influx of great female talent coming in. And I think if you're going to keep her down there and sort of get her chops up, then she's going to have to beat a lot of the women's wrestling indie darlings. She has to beat those girls. And she has to rise the ranks. And she can't beat Asuka. I'm sorry. She just can't beat Asuka. She can't. And at the same time, Asuka can't leave. I would only hope that if you do keep Asuka down there, I mean, hold out until right before WrestleMania. Don't have her come in after WrestleMania unless you wanted to get that big Monday Night Raw pop, because that's exactly where she would be going, to Monday Night Raw, to basically destroy Alexa Bliss. But we'll see. I have Asuka winning. Bobby Roode versus Drew McIntyre. Okay. Something I wanted to mention earlier. The idea of run-ins and distractions and shenanigans of that sort. I think you can only afford to do one run-in, in each brand, whether it's NXT, whether it's the WWE main roster. You can only afford to do one. And if you do that one, it has to be worth a damn. It has to be. This is the second biggest thing on the WWE programming. It's SummerSlam. NXT Brooklyn is basically it's sidecar, right? So it's supposed to move storylines until WrestleMania. And if there's ever a moment in this this match and this card that there should be any kind of interference, any kind of run in. This is the one. This feud right now is no more than Drew McIntyre. He's just the number one. There's no backstory to this actual match between Drew and Bobby Roode. There isn't. It's just that Drew has been coming up in the ranks. He's basically reinvented himself as a WWE character, one of 3MB. So far, Jinder Mahal is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Drew has come back, and he's just been like a warrior. And I really love this last theme song. I'm not a big fan of this new theme song. I guess it's good for what it is, but I was a fan of the old Drew McIntyre music. A big fan. That shit kicked ass. So yeah, he won the number one contendership, and they basically just been cutting promos at each other. There's no blood feud at all. No blood feud at all. Though there is a blood feud between Bobby Roode and Roderick Strong. He's defeated Roderick Strong. They did it a couple of times. One was a dusty finish, and Roderick Strong just keeps. Bobby Roode just keeps insulting him. Keeps insulting his family. Just that was a one. I saw it coming a mile away. It's like, oh, look, there's the Strongs. He was taking photographs. He was getting some pictures taken of himself. And the Strong showed up with the baby carriage and everything. And Bobby Roode, I was like, he's not going to do it. But he showing up did. He's like, you want to face a real, you want to be with a real man. And lightning quick. Roderick Strong was on his ass like white on rice. And I couldn't stop laughing because it was like the heelish thing you could ever do. And I was so surprised that they went that route. But it's just Roderick. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back to him wanting to get his revenge on top of the fact that he cheated to win. They did the dusty finish in front of his family and all that shit. But that's the blood feud, and Drew McIntyre is no more than an afterthought to a certain degree in this entire thing. Bobby Roode's character is no more than an intro, it seems, as of late. I'm not that impressed with his ring ability. He hasn't done anything memorable, anything that long lasting. Something I'm like, oh man, Chad Gable on SmackDown has more fucking highlights and shit than Bobby Roode, but Bobby Roode has a really cool gimmick. That's it. He has a great entrance. He's smug. He's basically what you want out of a heel champion. Very old school, but it doesn't lend itself to memorable matches because he's very much, in the world of indie, darling, fast-paced storytelling. He's a TNA guy. He knows how to wrestle with the TNA style, which is basically the WWE style, a very slow, methodical, you tell stories another type of way, rather than in-ring, high work rate sort of matches. So if anybody's tired of him on the NXT brand, it has everything to do with the fact that it's like a square block in a round hole. You know what I'm saying? It's just the two just don't really. It's just he's out of place, and that's all it is. He's very out of place. So, but they can't afford to let him go, like very much like everyone else. At least ride him out until WrestleMania and or the Royal Rumble. I would say, whenever the Royal Rumble comes around, he should be off the NXT brand, and he should be like, number 4, because number 4 seemed to be that number, 4 or 3 in the Royal Rumble. He should be one of those guys. But until then, we gotta wait till maybe Roderick Strong beats him, and this is gonna have a screwy finish. Bobby Roode will win. He will win, but win by disqualification. I really think that Roderick Strong is going to go in and interfere. There's talks of a faction of the ROH guys joining ROH because you got Adam Cole signed. Again, Bobby Fish has signed. Kyle O'Reilly has signed. You got Leo Rush coming over, and all these guys are from ROH. And I came up with a really cool name if they were to do this. Let me finish the fallout. Bobby Roode wins because Roderick Strong cost Drew McIntyre. He attacks, blah, blah, blah. Because I think he still wants him for himself. He wants to lift that fucking title off. With that said, will there be a faction accompanying him to basically destroy both Drew McIntyre and Bobby Roode? And I came up with a really cool name. I like to think that they will call themselves the Honor Roll. Maybe. I think, Ring of Honor and, these are the guys, these are the cream of the crop. ROH guys, honor, use the word honor. Just like, when you're, you have a high score or a high GPA or what have you, you make the honor roll. These guys can be called the honor roll. I don't know. Just a suggestion. If you're listening, somebody out there. But yeah, that's basically the card. And sorry it takes so long to go through it, but maybe you like to hear the backstories. Maybe you like to hear, my thoughts and ideas on what's going on because it's been so long. But there's perhaps going to be a 6th match, and it's rumored that there's possibly going to be one of the catch guys from the British division of the WWE. We'll see. I hope there is and if they do, they will probably steal the show because their style of wrestling just tells the best storylines, and those guys just are they're fantastic, man. The fact that they're not on that roster more often doing something is a fucking crime. It's a crime. All those guys. All of them. They should be out there kicking ass and taking names. Oh, you know what? You know the fuck what? I think it'll probably be Orny Lorcan and the other guy. I can't even think of his name, but he's one of the British guys. But they're telling basically a Cesaro, it hit me. Orny Lorcan and I should know this dude's name. But nevertheless, they're doing basically the same thing what they did with Sheamus and Cesaro. They started off as bitter enemies, and I think they will become reluctant tag team partners. Now, maybe if they do this match, it's a storyline that could call for a distraction. It could call for a run-in of maybe some up-and-coming tag team, and they go in and basically take out both Orny Lorcan and the other guy, and then they join forces to basically beat the shit out of whoever the fuck decides that they want to, show their nutsacks and put some hair on their chest. So I don't know who that tag team could be. They talk about that Sabatelli guy and another dude. It could be, most likely it'd be them. We'll see. But I think that's going to be your 6th match. That ends in a no contest as they join forces as a tag team. That's needed in NXT, I would say, over time. So yeah, man, without further ado, let's get to my SummerSlam predictions. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about the storylines. Some I'll probably just give who I think wins. Let's go with the pre-show matches because they have these definitely on. Oh man, ooh, that's brutal. Akira Tozawa versus Neville, and if you haven't been keeping up, Tozawa did beat Neville on the Go Home show for SmackDown to become the WWE Cruiserweight Champion. I found okay. One of the things that I talked about in my last video is that I like to think that wrestling fans are the only group of people that hate getting free shit. We hate it. I don't know what the deal is with this hatred of getting free shit. It's silly. With that said, this match was on free TV and Tozawa won. Now, the problem wasn't the fact that it was on free TV. The problem was it was very anticlimactic. Him winning that championship was extremely anticlimactic. It would have probably helped that it would have had like a rabid fan of, special show, pay-per-view caliber fans to sort of get into it. But I think the match itself just fell flat to me. It fell extremely flat. And when Neville, all it took was for Neville to miss his move and then just lay there. Neville's a badass. I just thought that they could have done something a little more. A fluke win would have worked better or something, but it was just amazingly anticlimactic to me. And if I was to sort of make a prediction, I see Tozawa losing that belt. I see Tozawa losing the belt. I think they can turn this belt exchange into like a rubber match. Maybe they could defend it for a third time down the road or something. Maybe back on SmackDown, and just be done with it, and then have the Titus brand sort of have internal turmoil because they're running with the storyline. Now, not everything is peaches and cream when you're dealing with that kind of a faction sometimes, because, I mean, to call it a faction would be false, but to call it a club or so is more suited. Those guys are a cool little crew of guys, ragtag guys who just want to make it. And I think once someone sees like success, I think it could be a storyline of seeing the success, having it taken away, and then the turmoil within to keep the brand relevant. Titus gets upset, Tozawa gets upset, Cruz gets upset. I think they can continue to tell the storyline, and honestly, it could be a way to get Tozawa at least somewhat close to fighting the heavyweights. If there's a feud between Tozawa and Titus O'Neil at some point, where you get Tozawa basically facing a heavyweight. I think Titus O'Neil is a type of guy that could work for that. Like if you put him up against Tozawa up against Sheamus, yeah, it's not that Sheamus doesn't allow himself to be in a feud like that. He's kind of a badass. He's placed really high on the card as of late, and Tozawa wouldn't be believable going after someone like him. But Titus and the storyline, they can blur the line a little bit, and I hope they do that really soon, because I think Tozawa could be a little badass on the main roster. If not, if you can somehow start the pairing of heavyweight and cruiserweights, and not have the heavyweights like completely destroy the cruiserweights like they did in WCW, I think you can have yourself a nice little like fantasy booking kind of thing, and have some fun with it, with other shoot fights, Brock Lesnar versus Jones Bones, like the heavyweight versus lightweight. If we're gonna have Mayweather versus McGregor and all of these fantasy fight scenarios, I think the WWE could lend itself to doing the same thing. I mean, you got Finn Balor on the main roster, and he's basically a cruiserweight. They don't say his weight because he's like 201 pounds or something like that. So let's start blowing the line with this, and I think this can be a great start. Neville wins his belt back, by the way. Another pre-show match, you have the New Day versus the Usos. The pairing will be Big E and Xavier Wood defending. The Usos. I don't know, man. Everyone's all fucking happy and turned up on the Usos. And I'm confused with the Usos. They're supposed to be basically, I'm not even going to use that term. They're kind of hoodish. Like, they're basically stereotypical, like, black dudes from the hood. That's what that's how they're behaving. And they're supposed to be heels. But for some reason, they're carrying themselves like if they're goddamn the coolest brothers on the block. And you got, they're supposed to be heels. They're chop blocking and shit. They're assholes. And you got Daniel Bryan wanting to be cool with them. They're like the hippest, coolest guys ever. And they're confusing it. And everyone's like, oh man, this is some of their best work. This is some of their best everything. I'm like, I'm confused. You're going to shit or get off the pot with the Usos being either baby faces or fucking heels. They're asking for chants. They're doing all of this shit. Yet still they're being jackasses and assholes in the ring. Again, make up your mind with what the fuck. And no one's talking about this. In any and all the podcasts I listen to, nobody's talking about this. This blurred line of what the fuck the Usos are. Someone please tell me what the fuck the Usos are. If they're fucking baby faces, if they're fucking heels, I think there needs to be some fundamental changes in their presentation. They can't be showing up to do interviews smiling and joking and jiving with whoever's giving the interview to, who's ever giving the interview to them. They should be pissed off, shit-talking, intimidating motherfuckers. They shouldn't be like, hey, yeah, man, you like that? Like, what the fuck? That's what the Street Profits are for. They're going to take on this shit. And I think there's a possibility that maybe the Street Profits are that sixth match. We never know. We never know. So, the New Day, whatever. This is a toss-up, man. This is a toss-up. If there was ever a time to break up a crew, it's time to break up the New Day. It's just time. And I hope that this is that seminal moment in this wrestling weekend that something newsworthy happens. And I see the Usos winning. I predict that the Usos will win. It's going to be at the fault of Xavier Wood because Kofi should be out there. And I think it's time to start the dissension within the New Day. I think it's time. I mean, I'm not a fan of groups. All of a sudden they're homies, and then all of a sudden it's all good a week ago. Like, I'm not a fan of that. I think the New Day could basically, like, you know what, guys? Let's still be cool, but kind of go our separate ways, right? And still support each other as homies in the back, and. But the way that the WWE works, if you're a tag team or a faction, there has to be dissension. There has to be dissension. And this has to be that moment for the New Day. This has to be. They're active. People like it, I guess, but for me and like a lot of people, it's become more shucking and jiving involved. It's become more product pushing. It's just the same shit over and over again. I'm ready to see Kofi become a singles wrestler again. I'm ready to see Big E go after the fucking tag team. It's time for Big E to go after the World Heavyweight Championship. Whether it's on SmackDown, he's going after whoever the fuck, Shinsuke Nakamura or whoever the fuck, or on Raw going after the Universal title. That guy has come into his own as a performer, as a personality, and I'm sick of him in this mid-card hell of a tag team division. He's worth more than that. He should be going after Brock Lesnar. He should be going after Shinsuke Nakamura. He should be going after John Cena. He should be going after Randy Orton. He should be going after these guys. He should be. Now is the time. You talk about shit or get off the pot. It's time to do that with Big E Langston. It's time. It's fucking time. So I hope that the Usos win. I hope there's dissension. I hope there's dissension in the fucking New Day because of it. And we see Big E come out as a fucking top tier contender to the belt. Okay? Okay? Oh man. The Hardy Boys on the pre-show. They're way more over than being on the pre-show. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As old as those guys look, as slow as they guys move, they got a little bit of magic still in them. They should not be on the pre-show. They should kick off a show on the main show, not on the fucking pre-show. And I'm not even that big a fan of the Hardys, actually. You know, I'm not. But they're fun to watch. And the whole broken gimmick has become its own kind of soap opera. But man, they're so fucking over. They're so over. Why in the hell would you not put them on the main card? Being so fucking over. There's no question about it. They're over. You're going to put them on the fucking... And The Miz is killing it too. The Miz is better than the fucking pre-show as well. He's better than the pre-show. Better than the pre-show. Okay? 6-man tag is... And Jason Jordan. Oh my God. That storyline. Alright. It's all bullshit. This is a wash. This is all a fucking wash right now. I don't even care who wins this, honestly. If I was to pick, I'm just say the faces will win. The Hardys will win. The Hardys with Jason Jordan because they just got too good of a storyline. Well, not too good of a story. They got a big storyline with the whole Jason Jordan thing. And I just don't see the pairing of basically the hottest act, in the top 3 hottest acts to lose to The Miz, Taraj. I just don't see it. The Miz is a wily heel. He should lose. But still cut awesome promos. I mean, what he's doing is great. They're better than this. I think if this was on the main roster, I think I would care more. But I don't care. This is a wash. And I see basically the baby faces winning. I have nothing to say more about this. All right. Let's get to let's scroll down. All right. We got Sheamus and Cesaro versus Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Basically, 2/3 of the Shield have reunited finally, and it looks like they're going to be a tag team for a while because they've been kind of in limbo. I mean, how many Miz fucking Dean Ambrose matches you're gonna watch? And as of late, Seth Rollins has nothing since his feud with Triple H. It's just been crickets. And he's been trying to get into good graces of the babyface, and just like redemption here. He's on the cover of 2K, and they're trying with the kid, but he's dog paddling right now. And the only thing they can really do is put that storyline together of, you know, becoming, I guess, partners again. And they finally did it. After weeks of, you know, this soap opera, and I think they played it out a little too long of them either becoming homies or not trusting each other. It's like, come on, just get on with it, you know? So they're finally back together. Cesaro and Sheamus have become kind of badasses. They're really good heels. They're a really good tag team. It'd be a shame for them to lose that belt. And I see that this rivalry has more legs. I don't see a clean victory at all with this. If I was to choose the one match that will have a no contest, is this. We got to keep both of those guys busy. There's no one on the tag team division that can even come close to challenging either of those guys. Nowhere to be found, okay? So, have, like, Cesaro hit fucking Dean Ambrose with the belt, and the ref sees it, and call it no contest. They continue this feud at least for a couple of more weeks. Because it's the tag team division is basically the mid card, and that tag team mid card hell. That's what it is. It's tag team. I can't think of one other. I can't even think of another tag team on the Raw product right now. I can't even think of one. Can't even think of one other than the Hardy Boys. Oh well. All right, we got John Cena versus Baron Corbin. Poor Baron Corbin failed at his cash-in on SmackDown not too long ago. Well, for the go-home show, he loses to Jinder Mahal in his cash-in. Controversial. John Cena distracted. He's facing John Cena. Everyone had their theories. If you don't mind listening to my theory on this. Baron Corbin has the potential to be a babyface. He has the potential of being a sympathetic babyface. He's a young guy. He can afford to lose matches because he's young. He's inexperienced. He's going up against the likes of Shinsuke Nakamura, right? He's going up against the likes of John Cena. Two guys who have been in wrestlers for years. They're just experienced. They know how to wrestle and fight better. They understand combat better than Baron Corbin, who's a young guy who needs his ass whooped a couple of times until he starts to get it. I think if he loses enough in a way where it seems that he's kind of, he doesn't cheat, you know? He doesn't cheat at all. I think him cashing in that Money in the Bank was probably the most Weasley thing he's done since he's been on the main roster, and to get victories. He's been straight up fighting motherfuckers, which is a slippery slope of a heel thing to do. You can motherfucking get people on your side if you don't cheat, man. And I think that's what Baron Corbin, he's doing it the right way, and he's falling short to these veterans. And I think there can be somewhat of a grassroots fucking following of wanting him to succeed. I think that's possible. He loses to John Cena. He loses to John Cena tonight, and begins the babyface push of Baron Corbin. Now, to say the heels, I think SmackDown is struggling with heels. They're struggling. They're very much so struggling. You have Jinder Mahal. You have Kevin Owens. Man. I guess Dolph Ziggler, if he's still considered like a guy on the roster. You can't afford to turn him babyface. But like, I think that's the only way you can go with Baron Corbin. That's the only way you can go with Baron Corbin. Being that scrappy guy that people start getting behind because he's fighting the right way. He shows the fighting spirit. Even though he's an asshole, all he wants to do is be the best. And you can't fight. You cannot boo against that. You can't boo that. You can't say, fuck Baron Corbin. You'd be like, yeah, like, don't they all want to be the best? If he has a chip on his shoulder, then that's the edge that he has against other guys. But he can be a babyface. I think he has babyface potential, especially if he's not cheating and losing to vets and sort of coming to grips with himself as a wrestler, as a competitor. So John Cena wins, and the storyline is more Baron Corbin than it is John Cena. John Cena is going to go off into the fucking ether and do what the fuck he does. John Cena. Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt singles match. We get the Demon. Bray Wyatt loses. Can't say much there. Big Show versus Big Cass with Enzo and a goddamn Shark Tank. The way they got to that was so silly. And it was like, I don't know, it was like bad comedy or what. But like, Big Cass shows up complaining to Kurt Angle, complaining about how Big Show gets the best of him because Enzo's involvement. And Kurt Angle goes, "What you trying to say? He deserves to be in a Shark Tank?" I was like, "That's how you're gonna get there? Is that how you're gonna get there?" Jesus Christ. Also, they're selling. They still trying to sell these goddamn toys. These Shark Tank toys. I guess they still have a bunch of them in back order that they're trying to get out. And they're trying to like clear that fucker out. And normally a Shark Tank match was something that would happen every blue moon. We've had 3 this year, man. Count them, 3. We've had Paul Ellering in a fucking Shark Tank. We've had who the fuck else we had in a Shark Tank? Chris Jericho in a Shark Tank. Right? And now we got a 3rd. It's pretty amazing. Big Cass has to win. Big Cass has to win. Because they're going to do some gimmick where Enzo drops down a brass knucks or something. And they're going to end up with Big Cass. The referee will take a bump. If there's ever a time that the referee in this entire show takes a bump, it's this right here. He takes a bump, then all hell breaks loose. But Big Cass will win. It's going to be at the fault of Enzo. And you start a storyline between Big Show and Enzo. Big Cass then moves on to face another opponent on his way to be a superstar. I've said this a million times. The whole Big Cass and Enzo tag team, I was like, don't get used to them as a tag team. They're going to lose and lose and lose. They're not getting those belts. Why would you give those guys the belts when you got this 7-foot motherfucker over here that's money? And they broke them off. And I think, and I still hold true. I will still hold on to the fact that at some point it will be Cassidy's era. Roman Reigns, again, it's all well and good with Roman Reigns, but I feel at some point Big Cass will be the guy. There will be a Big Cass era, and he's basically be like another Hulk Hogan. Not necessarily a John Cena, but more of a Hulk Hogan. Just a big guy, a handful of moves. He got the big elbow. He got the big boot. He got all these things that Vince McMahon loves, and what he's been doing to his body has been great. So we'll see. I predicted this. If you go back, I will always talk about Big Cass being the guy, and this starts him being the guy. If he's going to be a swarmy heel for now, so be it. But the end result is him becoming the man. And the story, he can move on to say face. I don't know. I think he's been talking out of place. He's talked about how he wants Brock Lesnar. He's talking about how he wants Brock Lesnar, which he shouldn't be doing. Like, cut that out, kid. You're jumping. Young grasshopper. Don't just leap. But that's what he's been doing. I can see him going up against, as a heel, the likes of Apollo Crews, that mid-card just beat guys on his way up to finally facing your Roman Reigns and your Samoa Joes and your Braun Strowmans. Very soon, expect a Braun Strowman versus Big Cass match before a Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar match. Okay? That will probably be his next opponent. So yes. Let's see. We got Randy Orton versus Rusev in a singles match. They just sort of ended up together because they didn't have opponents. It was like, I have no opponent. I'll be your opponent. Randy Orton wins with RKO. I don't have much to say about this. I love Rusev. I think Rusev beats the living crap out of him. But if there was a guy who could afford a loss, is Randy Orton. He needs to be shot up to some sort of something worth a damn. I think if there was ever, I think he needs to go back to Raw. If I was, I mean, god damn, Randy Orton, talk about purgatory, poor guy. But yeah, Randy Orton wins, and then I guess whatever happens, happens. I hope Rusev somehow aligns with Jinder Mahal. I think that could be a really cool faction along with the Singh brothers, because any singles push where he becomes like an empathetic babyface is out the window. I think they just don't want to do that with him. He's always going to be this foreign menace. WWE, go back and watch the Koloffs, man. Nikita Koloff, and how they changed him, and how he became basically the biggest babyface in the company at some point. You can do that with Rusev. It's not too late. AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens, which everyone's going to be thinking there's going to be like the work match of the night. It's not. It's not. It's going to be the main event. That's going to be the biggest work rate match of the night. Special guest referee, Shane McMahon. Storyline is this. Kevin Owens feels he's been getting screwed over and over again to not get his U.S. belt back. AJ Styles is the U.S. champ, and he's the champ. They're trying to bring relevance to that fucking U.S. belt. This should be something for the WWE, but nevertheless, we complain about how these mid-card titles mean nothing. As soon as we try to make them something, we complain about who's making it something. And I just go, okay. But the storyline is more about Shane O'Mac than it is the match itself. Who is he going to screw? Who is he going to screw? Who is he going to screw? If I was to say he's going to screw someone, he's going to screw over Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is going to give him a bunch of lip, and he's going to push him. It's going to be a pushing match, because that's what always happens. Shove match. And then Shane McMahon is going to just deck him. He's going to deck him, which is going to lead to AJ Styles putting Kevin Owens in the Styles Clash, and he's going to win. Then start the feud between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon that I think could last into Survivor Series. No, too soon. Too soon. Or is it? But they can do it. They can definitely do a program. And they can maybe wrestle at the Royal Rumble or something. Something. We'll see. We'll see coming up. They got so many fucking pay-per-views between now and then. I'm just saying, like, SmackDown is lacking right now in like performers, and you're gonna have long, drawn-out storylines, and that's just the way it's gonna have to be. Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon should be something that lasts a while, just for shits and giggles. And maybe you get tired of Shane O'Mac at some point, but that's the nature of the beast right now, and we'll see. AJ Styles, as happy as he is a U.S. championship, let's not fool yourself, okay? He needs to be holding a world championship. And depending on who wins versus Nakamura, he should be in the hunt to regain the world championship. I would hate to see him lose that championship, but that's how it needs to be. I mean, that's how it's going to be done. He should just be like, this is a good run. Put it up for tournament, but I'm coming for you, Shinsuke. Spoiler, but we'll see. Okay, we got Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. I don't have much really to say about this. That women's division is the drizzling shits. Alexa Bliss retains with the help of Nia Jax. Naomi versus Natalya. Ugh. Naomi has to win. Naomi wins. She beats Natalya. Just beats her clean until Asuka comes up to the main roster. I think Naomi should just hold on to the belt. She hasn't been defending it. This is the first time she's defended that belt on a pay-per-view in quite some time. Well, I will not consider her matches with oh shit. I don't consider her matches with what the fuck Lana title defenses. I just don't. I'm sorry. I just won't. But it seems that Lana and Snuka are conspiring something, and I think Snuka is going to be the next in line for a championship. I don't think there's going to be some sort of run-in, but I think there will be possibly a distraction. I think it will be a distraction, but a failed distraction to have either Lana or Tamina or both of them come in and try to distract Naomi to give Natalya the upper hand. But I think it backfires. She hits her in the face with her nice plush booty. She does Starship Pain, and she fucking beats Natalya clean. And then, both Lana and Tamina just stomps a mud hole, and then you start that feud. Not with Lana, though, but with Tamina instead. All right? We have Jinder Mahal with the Singh brothers versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE Championship. Whew. I said spoiler earlier that Shinsuke is going to win, but you just cannot have Jinder drop that belt yet. If there was ever a time to have a whatever guy holding the belt, both WWE and Universal Champ, it's now. This is, it's football season. You may as well just fucking hang it up and just keep it on somebody that'll just carry the load during this football season. Nakamura, as much as I love Nakamura, I don't see him losing clean, but I see him losing this match. He'll probably win it. I can see Shinsuke Nakamura winning the Royal Rumble and winning the championship at WrestleMania, but he can't win it now. He just can't. Jinder is the perfect candidate for that belt right now, guys. Say what you want, feel how you feel, but Jinder Mahal, the modern day Maharaja, pulls off the victory with an assist from the Singh brothers. Move on to the next. Nakamura needs to go to the back of the line and face some more people, and basically with a new attitude, not going through the motions, and have his next shot at the belt be his number in the Royal Rumble. Okay, guys. And then we have the main event. Yep, we have the main event, and Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe versus Braun Strowman in a fatal four-way for the Universal Championship. Just like I said, the storyline is that, because that James Bones Jones match, dream match against Brock Lesnar that he asked for is in the works. And the storyline is that if Brock Lesnar loses, he leaves. That's not a work. That's a shoot. I think there's negotiations going on right now, and I think that fight will happen. We're in the age of blurring the lines of weight and just getting dream matches. Like I was saying, for the cruiserweight, I think Titus O'Neil and a Tozawa feud would be nice. You also have Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Bones Jones versus Brock Lesnar will be a fun thing to watch. it's just going to be fun to watch, and they're going to make it happen. They're going to sanction it out somewhere. If it's not in New York, they'll find a place to have it. The pay-per-views will roll in. The dollars will roll in. The people will show up to watch it. There's some technicalities, and Brock Lesnar is like him retiring and having to take a drug test and all this stuff. But I think they will find someone to sanction the match, even with or without a blood test, because both of those guys have questionable backgrounds with substance and so forth. So fuck it, let them just beat themselves to smithereens. Brock Lesnar does not leave champion at SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar has become one of those guys that, like, if it's mentioned that something's gonna happen, 9 times out of 10 it's gonna happen. Like, you know, where he showed up with Eat, Sleep, Beat the Streak with Pete. Like, yeah, he beat the streak. Like, and he's just that guy. And also, if there was ever a time to put the belt on just a guy during the football season, the only guy. Let's go down, and then I'll call it quits with this podcast. I think I went a little longer than I needed to, but again, it's been a while. I wanted to really dive in and just talk to you guys for a while, you know. But if there was ever, okay, so Brock Lesnar, I just told you his scenario. He's out the door. All right. Braun Strowman cannot be champion. He is not. Right now, his gimmick doesn't allow him to be champion. Very much like Aleister Black, very much like Bray Wyatt. These big, like these types of characters, the belt doesn't really do much for them, you know? I would much rather see a pissed off guy looking for competitors in Braun Strowman than a champion on top of the mountain. I'm sorry. And it's just, he's still a little green. I don't know what it was about that fucking interview he had with Stone Cold Steve Austin. But ever since that interview, man, that guy's been choo. And the storyline with him and Roman Reigns and him just being like fucking damn near murdered and just like keep getting up and swinging and just like these, I'm just gonna kick your ass. Like just the, I don't give a fuck attitude. The crowd is behind him. He's probably the second or third most liked babyface who's a heel on the roster. I don't give a fuck. I just want to kill everybody. Like that's, yeah! Right? That's Braun Strowman. So he just ain't gonna win the belt. Roman Reigns, he just can't win the belt. Like there's no use for him to have that belt. Not at all. The storyline that Vince wants of him is that he's like this scrappy little guy that just will get his cake and eat it at WrestleMania. That's just the thing. That's what they're gonna do. He doesn't need the belt. The ratings will drop because of football season, and you do not want your top guy to be the reason that no one's tuning in. Right? So there's no way in hell that Roman Reigns is going to get that strap. It's going to be him and Shinsuke Nakamura as the final two in the Royal Rumble, and somehow Nakamura is going to boot his ass out of the ring. But what's going to happen, though, is that Roman Reigns will still, if not go after the belt, he's still going to be in the biggest match of the evening. If it's the return of The Undertaker. If he fucking fights, you know, Brock Lesnar 101. I mean, like, if they bring someone in, like, the guy will be in a top match. He will be in a top match. Regardless of what anyone thinks. But he ain't winning the belt. The one guy that can walk out of that match champion, and I'm gonna make a bold prediction too. Samoa Joe. I think Samoa Joe is fit for the role. I think his gimmick allows him to be champion because he wants to be champion so bad. Like, him wanting the championship is... You look at Roman Reigns. He's just bark, bark, I'm top dog, my yard. It doesn't really, Joe is like, I want that championship. And not only do I want that championship, I'm going to beat Brock Lesnar in that fatal 4-way for that championship. I'm going to make this fucking win as legit as a motherfucker. And I'm going to be the champion of the WWE. The only problem is, like I mentioned, it's football season. And the WWE would much rather have a guy come, outsider, someone who's done their thing. If the ratings are low, they can point the finger and say, well, Joe didn't do his job as top guy. He could take the fall. And I think Joe don't mind. He's like, fuck it, I'm champion. I don't give a fuck about the ratings. What the fuck do I care about the ratings? What do I care about anyone and how they feel? I don't give a fuck about NFL. I'm the champ. Come take this belt off me. That's basically it. That's all he needs to do. Come take this belt off me. During that fucking stint of the NFL period, and whoever he faces at the Royal Rumble, beat him. Whoever he faces at Roadblock, beat him. Survivor Series, just win. Just win. Go to WrestleMania as a Universal Champion and face Shinsuke Nakamura. It'll probably be the drizzling shits of a match because even their matches at NXT weren't really that great. But or maybe Roman Reigns gets it and becomes heavyweight champion going into WrestleMania. Maybe at Roadblock. I don't know. But I just know that Samoa Joe should fucking have the belt out of all the guys. And he will beat Brock Lesnar. He's going to choke him out and pin him. He's going to choke him out and or pin him. Samoa Joe is my pick. And that's it, man. That's it, guys. Man, that was a long podcast. But again, it's something to listen to. You've heard all your fucking prediction podcasts. You can do this while driving. You can listen to this while working on something. You can do whatever the fuck you want. By the way, I made this shirt. I'm gonna do some live reactions for this. I'm gonna upload it. I'm also going to do a review of SummerSlam. I will do a review, and I'm going to upload that. Maybe it'll be a shorter show. It's going to be kind of a combined review of both NXT Takeover and SummerSlam. When that review happens, maybe we'll see. We'll see. I know I'll make it if it's next Thursday. An accumulative of all the events that happens within the next 3 days, even Raw. I'm gonna do that review either Thursday, Friday, or next Saturday, and then I'm gonna go away for another while until maybe the Royal Rumble, or unless I have something to really talk about in terms of the wrestling product and how I feel about certain storylines or certain characters and what have you. But until then, guys, if you like this shirt, just hit me up. I can make one for you. Until then, watch out for those foreign objects. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Peace.